What's going on, everyone? Today I want to share with you some books for personal growth and building mental strength. I've been listening to them as audiobooks, and that's just because I'm an auditory learner. So I tend to learn better just by absorbing information just through listening to it. And in addition to that, I tend to learn a lot better when I'm performing an action or doing something that's sort of cognitively built within me. So something I'm very familiar with, something I can do with my eyes closed. So when I go rollerblading or walking or skateboarding, things like that, I tend to listen to audiobooks because I find they just resonate with me a little bit better that way, as opposed to if I was, in the car driving, I tend to have to focus a little bit more on the road, so I'm not really paying too much attention to what's being said in the audiobooks. So, I recommend listening to these if you're going to be at the gym training, or if you're a runner, jogger, or you like to go biking, things like that. It's a great time to listen to audiobooks, and that's what I found so far. If you prefer to download things and read them as ebooks, these are all available like that as well. Or you can actually just purchase them on Amazon or just online on any website really, and actually have them shipped to you, and you can read them as text if you're that kind of person as well. So I'm going to share these with you and put them up on the screen as I go, and I'm just going to give a brief description of each of these audiobooks. I found they've been helping me quite a bit, and some of them I listened to several times now, and I figure I'll probably go back to them a few times and continue to listen to them, but in the meantime I'm going to continue to add more to my audiobook library as I go. So starting things off, I started listening to The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And you can just check that out right up here. I'll just list them all up here as I go, as I usually do. So this book is actually pretty interesting. I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but it has a lot to do with the military and really just managing people. And I actually find it applies very well to business, and I can almost relate it to a lot of my business endeavors that I've experienced over the years, and I found it to be pretty resourceful so far. It's a pretty lengthy audiobook, and a pretty lengthy book in general, but if you are interested in business and just people management and things like that, I would definitely recommend having a look at The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Other than that, you can check out The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And that is another book I just started listening to. I got through it once, and I think I might go through it again, just because I want to absorb everything that's being said. I found the first time around, I was in the gym for most of the listening process, and I didn't really absorb everything that was being said fully to its full extent. And that could be an issue too if you're focusing on your reps and sets. It's kind of hard to often absorb everything that's coming from an audiobook, and that's why I like to listen to things multiple times, just to really hammer things in. So The Alchemist actually talks about, and it's funny, it basically says that everything that happens to you and everything in the world which takes place in one's life is an omen. So I've actually mentioned this in previous videos, and I've sort of paraphrased it myself by saying that everything is connected and everything is intertwined, and there's patterns that you can see when you look deep down into certain things, certain experiences that you have throughout your everyday life. There are certain patterns that connect everything together. So if you take that time and you're attentive to those patterns, and you closely observe everything, you can connect everything together in a certain way, and you can make everything just sort of flow naturally throughout your life. That's the best way I can describe it. The Alchemist itself, and alchemy, I don't want to get too far into it, but the actual book, it really follows an alchemist around, and this alchemist has a full understanding of the universe and how it works, and he's actually able to turn metals into gold, just having that understanding of all that exists. So it's a pretty interesting book. Definitely check it out if you're interested in that type of stuff. Next, there is Mastery by Robert Greene. Mastery is actually an interesting book because it follows different masters throughout history, and by masters I mean people that have mastered their craft or their industry, or multiple industries. They've mastered one thing and they've moved on to the next thing. So it's actually interesting because it follows their process, their growth, and it really allows you to. It kind of humbles you when you think about, sometimes people get a little impatient when they're doing something, and you almost want to do something right away, right now. You want it to happen immediately. I know a lot of people, they want to start YouTube channels, for instance, and they want immediate results with their YouTube channel, be it subscribers, likes, views, comments, whatever it may be. And a lot of things come with patience and just practice and just consistency. That comes with lifting as well, and that's what you actually learn through fitness and training. It's quite interesting. It translates there. But Mastery, it's neat because it follows people like Just trying to think of some examples. Michelangelo David. It follows, or it talks about, God, there's so many people in the book. The whole book it's quite long, actually. It's something like 16, 18 hours, and it just follows all sorts of different people. It follows Charles Darwin, and it basically describes these people's thought processes through like a span of 10 to 20 years where they were apprenticing, in specific industries, let's say, and then they would learn that craft and master it through their apprenticeship. And it's interesting because nowadays you find that the apprenticeships don't really exist. People go to school, they sit in classrooms, they observe a teacher, and they learn just by watching a teacher, and reading a book. But they're not really delved down deep into the subject. They're not, if you're learning about, I don't know. That's why I kind of like colleges as opposed to universities in a lot of ways. For instance, if you're learning about cars and you want to be a mechanic, you are hands-on, and being more of an apprentice, physically using your hands is very important. It's talked about in Mastery as well. And that's how you have that ability to learn that skill set. Just getting right involved into it and putting yourself right into that situation, almost as an apprentice would, as opposed to sitting in a classroom and just watching a teacher and reading a book. You're not going to fully absorb the information that way. At least that's what I find, and that's what this book talks about, really, is that apprenticeships are very important, and patience and practice in your craft is also very important. So, it's very, you can translate that to anything in life if you really think about it. So that's a great book, and I definitely recommend that as well. So that was number 3. Let's move on to number 4. And this is You Can Have It All by Arnold Patent. The title itself is quite kind of cheesy, in my opinion. There's another title for it, which is Arnold Patent's Universal Principles. This is pretty cool. It's neat because it's a newer book. Arnold Patent actually took the time to narrate the book himself, and he did so during a time when he was actually teaching a course on the discussions that actually are within the book. So it's kind of neat because throughout the actual book, he actually stops and allows you to take breaks. And in addition to that, he actually asks questions and then answers them. Some of those questions are actually ones that I had myself. So it's interesting because it's like you are part of this course, or this experiencing this course that he would have taught to other people, and you're doing so through the audiobook or through the book itself. I'm going to put links in the description below to everything that I'm talking about. The Arnold Patent book I just picked up off his website. It was something like $30. You can buy directly there and download the audiobook, or you can purchase the physical copy. Again, I'm more pro audiobooks. Now, Universal Principles by Arnold Patent, it is interesting because it talks about really the universe as a whole and everyone within it. It talks about everyone's energy. It talks about how everyone's intertwined and everyone's connected with each other. It's a really great book to get into, and there's a lot of things you can relate to your everyday life. He addresses a lot of things, so definitely check that one out. And it actually is similar to this book that I'm going to mention right now, which is the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Now, I've listened to this book probably like 5 or 6 times now. It's not too long, and it's very, very old. There's actually not too much tracing back to its original origin. There's just a lot of myths and legends, which could have some truth to them, but it's not as new as Arnold Patent's. Arnold Patent is almost an updated version of that, but it doesn't quite resonate the same as Lao Tzu's book for me. And the reason being is because Lao Tzu tends to have this, it's a 5,000 word book that's been translated many, many times, and I'm going to put the link in the description below to the version I think you should download, or the version you should purchase, because I find that it's just translated much better into English, and the translator did a great job of doing so. Now, the Tao Te Jing it's more of a book that describes the universal principles or the universe as a whole, but it does so with almost a dreamlike lucidity to it. It's something that can resonate a little bit better for me, and it's something that it's almost like a dumbed down, simplified version of how the universe and how all of existence works and is intertwined with each other. So it's very similar to Arnold Patent's, but I find it's a little bit more spiritual than Arnold's book is. Arnold himself is, I believe he was formerly a lawyer, so he comes from a very technical background. He's almost like he was reborn and then he wrote the book. Lao Tzu, the legend goes, is that he was actually referred to as the old boy, and that could mean a lot of things. It's actually very symbolic, but again, the lucidity and the clarity that comes with his words and the way it was translated, it just really speaks to me. So I'd like you to take a look at that book if you're interested in that type of stuff. Again, all of this talks about how everything is connected, how everything is intertwined, how you grow through mental strength and love of all that is. So have a look at some of these books. Let me know what you think. If you have any other books that are similar to, you know, this type of, you know, topic of discussion, leave it in the comment section down below. If you would like me to continue to share the audiobooks I listen to, you know, which I'd love to do, I'd love to post an updated video like once a month of all the books I'm going through, because again, I just continue to add more as I go, and I'll always cycle back and re-listen to the previous ones just to really hammer in that information and get that knowledge absorbed. So have a look at these, or have a listen. Let me know what you think. Leave it in the comment section down below, as usual. And that's pretty much it. That's all I want to talk about today. Have yourself a great day, and take care.